Melania, and she said, "You know what you did to me with Stormy Daniels? Do you know what you've done to me with all your vulgar talk? Do you know what you've done to me the way you pay no attention to our child? Do you have any idea of what I think about you?" And then
Trump is having a meltdown of epic proportions, and you won't believe the reason behind it. James Carville just revealed a shocking bombshell about Melania that has Trump losing it like a reality TV star in a meltdown. Is it a scandal? A hidden secret? Or perhaps a designer shoe conspiracy? Grab your popcorn, because this drama is so juicy even Mar-a-Lago's walls are buzzing. Stay tuned, things are about to get messier than Trump's hair in a windstorm.
because he smells like shit, who wants him around? We've demonstrated beyond any shadow of a doubt that we've had engineers weigh in. A man is incapable of wiping his ass. But let me tell you, this.
Oh boy, if you ever needed proof that Trump Tower is built on glass walls and an even more fragile ego, James Carville just delivered it. And no, this isn't about one of Trump's usual speech debacles. This time, Carville took a metaphorical chainsaw to Melania Trump's already shaky public image, and, predictably, Donald didn't take it well. We all know he's got a short fuse, but his meltdown over this? It's like watching a toddler throw a tantrum after being told, no more candy. Equal parts hilarious and sad.
And so one of the things that we know for sure is Donald John Trump stinks. In other words, he smells like shit. There's any number of people who have reported this to us. And of course, everybody heard him fart in the courtroom. And we have extrapolated from that the belief that the reason he stinks so much is he farts and shits in his pants, or whatever. Juicy part.
Let's break it down. James Carville, yeah, that guy, has built a reputation on stirring the pot and rattling cages. For those blissfully unaware, Carville is the razor-sharp political strategist who helped launch Bill Clinton into the White House. But he didn't stop there. Since then, he's carved out a second career as a master of political mockery, especially when it comes to Republicans. If political satire were an Olympic sport, Carville would be standing proudly on the podium with a gold medal and a smirk.
You can produce a world-class documentary for $2 million. I know it. You couldn't spend $40 million in a documentary if you tried 10 times harder to do it. So where's the money going? Well, we know where the money is going. And to Bezos, who's worth, I don't know, $400 billion or something, this is all chump change.
But here's the thing, Carville isn't just tossing jabs into the void. This time, he's locked in, aiming his verbal sniper rifle directly at the Trump family, and he didn't miss. Now let's set the scene. For all his chest thumping about being a tough, no-nonsense businessman, Trump has one undeniable weakness: his image. Whether it's his famously unruly hair, his golden-branded empire, or the curated perfection of his marriage to Melania, Trump lives and breathes the illusion of success. It's his armor. And Carville just found the crack.
There, they're paying $40 million. And I don't know, somebody better look into this, but they could make a documentary on the history of the universe and couldn't spend $40 million. Is every time you think it's bad, it gets worse.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe, because it's only getting juicier. Now, if you've spent even 5 minutes following Trump, you know his entire brand is basically one big, expensive filter, a glossy veneer meant to make everything look golden, even when it's falling apart behind the scenes. But what happens when someone like James Carville walks in and starts poking holes in that carefully constructed illusion? You get Trump going absolutely ballistic. We're talking a full-blown, red-faced, golf club-throwing meltdown, louder than anything heard on the back nine of Mar-a-Lago. So, what exactly did Carville say that sent Trump spiraling into orbit? Nothing subtle, that's for sure. In classic, gloves-off Carville fashion, he suggested that Melania Trump is about as emotionally invested in her marriage as a stockbroker is during a market crash. Brutal, right? He didn't just throw shade, he dropped an entire shade umbrella on Trump's meticulously coiffed head. The message was crystal clear: Melania's loyalty might have less to do with love and more to do with legal contracts and strategic timing. And honestly, can anyone really argue? Melania has remained noticeably silent through scandal after scandal, and her ghost-like presence in Trump's campaign has become meme-worthy. So when Carville dropped that truth bomb for the world to hear, Trump wasn't just embarrassed, he was exposed. And the worst part for Trump? This wasn't whispered gossip or some anonymous leak. It was a bold, public takedown. A mic drop moment that tore at the very image Trump works so hard to protect.
I like to be unique. I like to be different. I think the unique is very rare to find nowadays. And something you want to be inspiration for other people to think outside of the box. I don't like to repeat stuff. I don't like to, to follow the people. I prefer to lead than to follow.
And I know what you're thinking. Why would this push Trump over the edge? After all, he's been criticized by world leaders, roasted by comedians, and dragged by just about everyone with a platform. But here's the difference. You can insult Trump all day long and he'll puff up, deflect, maybe even brag about it. But you do not mess with Melania. She's not just his wife, she's a key part of the Trump brand. The silent, polished, picture-perfect partner who rarely speaks, rarely slips, and never overshadows him. Her silence is her power, and it keeps his image intact. So when someone like James Carville, blunt, biting, and anything but subtle, comes along and publicly questions that dynamic, it's not just an insult. It's an unmasking. And how did Trump respond? Oh, you already know he didn't handle it with poise or professionalism. He didn't tweet a calm clapback or let it roll off his back like the so-called savvy businessman he claims to be. Nope. Trump went full DEFCON meltdown. Think yelling, pacing, throwing a tantrum that insiders described as foaming at the mouth, furious. But here's the kicker, it wasn't just about the insult. It was about the exposure. Carville didn't just throw a punch, he hit a nerve. He peeled back the glossy facade of the Trump fairy tale and, with a few scathing words, suggested that maybe, just maybe, the emperor has no emotional clothes. And if there's one thing Trump can't stand, it's being stripped of his illusions in front of a crowd.
Well, my thoughts are this. I looked at it, and, they came after women. I said nothing, because I'm not a woman. They came after Puerto Ricans. I said nothing, because I'm not a Puerto Rican. They came after black people. I said nothing, because I'm not black. But then they came after watermelons. That's where James Carville comes out of his chair. Okay, next thing you know, they're going to come after gumbo, and they're going to take our gumbo away from us. It was so disgusting.
It's like Trump has this compulsive need to appear flawless even when the cracks are glaringly obvious, like Grand Canyon level wide. You can practically picture him pacing the halls of Mar-a-Lago, muttering under his breath about how unfair it is for someone like Carville to drag his personal life into the spotlight. I wouldn't be shocked if he actually picked up the phone and barked at Melania, demanding, "Why haven't you tweeted your undying love yet? What are you doing, staring at paintings again?" But here's the real kicker, this meltdown? It's all too familiar. We've seen this script before. Remember when the media dared to ask questions about his relationship with Melania? The awkward silence, the forced smiles, the stony glares, it was like watching a mannequin couple at the end of a long department store shift. Trump hates when anyone shines a light on the cracks in his empire, especially when it's something as personal and vulnerable as his marriage. If there's one thing he's obsessed with more than power or money, it's projecting the image of the perfect all-American family. You know the type, always polished, always smiling, always ready for a photo op at a moment's notice. So when someone like Carville tosses a truth grenade into that fantasy, Trump doesn't just get mad, he unravels. Because in his world, appearances aren't just everything, they're the only thing.
And I think she's got this piece of barbed wire and is sticking it right up his fat, skinny ass. Yeah, that's right. You think about this. Going in and out, and he's begging. Oh, you have any idea of what I think about you? And then, well, thank you, and I just want to give a trigger warning here. If you react sensitively.
Carville's comment tore through Trump's carefully curated illusion like a chainsaw through cardboard, leaving him with no option but to dive headfirst into full-blown damage control mode. And let's be honest, part of why this meltdown is so wildly entertaining is because it peels back the curtain on who Trump really is. We already know he's obsessed with image. We know he thrives on spectacle and contradiction. But watching him spiral over something so petty, so deeply personal? That's where the Real show begins. This is the same man who's built entire campaigns on attacking others, gleefully tearing apart their lives under the spotlight. Now, with the tables turned, his own marriage is the punchline, and his reaction? A masterclass in fragility. It's like watching the world's most overinflated ego buckle under the weight of one uncomfortable truth. And then there's Melania. the ghost in the gold-plated machine. Her reaction to all this drama? If history is any guide, she's probably somewhere on a secluded beach, sipping champagne and pretending this circus doesn't exist. The woman is the undisputed queen of silence. And if she's saying anything at all about Trump's latest tantrum, it's probably something along the lines of, "Honey, we really need to rethink this whole marriage thing," whispered to her lawyer while scrolling through her phone, studiously ignoring anything Trump-related. At this point, Melania is more myth than reality, a polished, distant figure who appears just often enough to keep the brand afloat, but rarely says a word. She's like the luxury handbag you never actually use, always there, always expensive, and always just out of reach.
Throughout my life, I have harnessed the power of love as a source of strength during challenging times. Love has inspired me to embrace forgiveness, nurture empathy, and exhibit bravery in the face of unforeseen obstacles. Today, we celebrate courage, a strength that is based in love.
Carville's comment tore through Trump's carefully curated illusion like a chainsaw through cardboard, leaving him with no option but to dive headfirst into full-blown damage control mode. And let's be honest, part of why this meltdown is so wildly entertaining is because it peels back the curtain on who Trump really is. We already know he's obsessed with image. We know he thrives on spectacle and contradiction. But watching him spiral over something so petty, so deeply personal? That's where the real show begins. This is the same man who's built entire campaigns on attacking others, gleefully tearing apart their lives under the spotlight. Now, with the tables turned, his own marriage is the punchline, and his reaction? A masterclass in fragility. It's like watching the world's most overinflated ego buckle under the weight of one uncomfortable truth. And then there's Melania, the ghost in the gold-plated machine. Her reaction to all this drama? If history is any guide, she's probably somewhere on a secluded beach, sipping champagne and pretending this circus doesn't exist. The woman is the undisputed queen of silence. And if she's saying anything at all about Trump's latest tantrum, it's probably something along the lines of, "Honey, we really need to rethink this whole marriage thing," whispered to her lawyer while scrolling through her phone, studiously ignoring anything Trump-related. At this point, Melania is more myth than reality, a polished, distant figure who appears just often enough to keep the brand afloat, but rarely says a word. She's like the luxury handbag you never actually use, always there, always expensive, and always just out of reach.
Very distressed about the pain that Donald Trump's going to have, because as I told you before, I can't stand him. I think he's human garbage of the worst order. And sometimes I think of Melania.
But when James Carville swoops in and questions whether Melania's loyalty is rooted in love or business, he's doing far more than delivering a punchline. He's strategically dismantling the myth. Every time Carville or anyone else highlights just how visibly detached Melania seems from Trump's endless theatrics, it becomes harder and harder for the MAGA faithful to keep pretending that the Trump world is one big, glossy, happily ever after. And that, my friends, is not just political commentary, it's psychological warfare. Carville isn't hurling grenades. He's tossing tiny pebbles into the most fragile glass house in politics. Trump, the man who's built his entire identity on gold-plated facades and slick marketing, is now watching that image crack, not with a bang, but with a subtle, painful splintering. Because this isn't just about Melania anymore. This is about the very foundation of Trump's mythos. For decades, Trump has sold himself as the ultimate alpha, lovable, unstoppable, the center of his own glamorous universe. And part of that universe? The loyal, elegant, quietly supportive wife. Melania has always been portrayed as the mysterious pillar holding the empire together, a silent symbol of success, discipline, and stability. But now? People are starting to look at her not as the rock, but as the contract. The accessory to the illusion. And that's a problem Trump can't fix with a press release or an angry tweet. Because when someone like Carville pokes holes in Melania's role, he's not just mocking the marriage, he's exposing how hollow the whole Trump operation really is. It's not just satire. It's demolition, done with a smirk and a scalpel.
Barbed wire, and you had like a stretcher, and you'd pull it tight, and you'd have to hammer I don't know what they call it, like a U-nail. And this stuff is very, very, very difficult to deal with. Also, for you history buffs, this barbed wire probably had a lot more to do with taming the West than a Colt 45. The history of the West is very entwined with the history of barbed wire because people get.
But the spectacle doesn't end there, because mocking Trump himself has now become a calculated strategy, not just a pastime. It's no longer about arguing policy or fact-checking his Twitter feed. The real hit now? Going after the myth of Trump. The larger-than-life caricature he crafted over decades, a political genius who stumbled through real estate deals, rode a wave of reality TV fame, and somehow convinced millions he was the second coming of American greatness. Attacking that persona, his bluster, his bravado, the billionaire superhero image, is like swinging at a glass cannon. Loud, flashy, and surprisingly easy to shatter. You can toss all the surface-level jabs, orange tint, gravity-defying hair, endless self-promotion, but when you go deeper, when you start peeling back the mask and exposing the insecure man underneath, that's when the empire starts to tremble. And now? Cue the scene: Trump, pacing the fairway, golf club in one hand, phone in the other, thumbs furiously tapping as he fires off a barely coherent rant about low-life Carville ruining his weekend. The sun glints off his spray tan as he tries to look unbothered, but we all know the rage is simmering just below the surface. Meanwhile, Melania, half a world away in spirit if not in miles, is likely somewhere serene, drink in hand, designer shades shielding her eyes from the nonsense. If she's paying attention at all, she's probably rolling those eyes with such force she's giving herself a panoramic view of her own regrets. Because let's face it, at this point, does she even want to be in this political soap opera? She's not just distant. She's detached. A silent figure in a noisy empire that's cracking louder every day.
Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by two impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher.
Lana's work has produced remarkable results, playing a key role in preparing our nation's future leaders as they transition into the workforce. Our First Lady is accompanied by two incredibly impressive young women, one of whom is Haley Ferguson. Haley has thrived through the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is on track to finish her education, with aspirations to become a teacher. And just when you think it can't get any worse, here come Melania's 2025 plans. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know Melania isn't exactly keen on staying in the public spotlight. But what if, just what if, she's secretly plotting a huge comeback? Here's the thing, no matter what Trump does to salvage his image, the damage has already been done. The truth is out there now. Trump isn't exactly riding high on the loyalty train, and frankly, no one is buying the image of the perfect couple anymore. As for Carville? Well, he's probably sitting back, laughing his head off while Trump tweets into the abyss. It's the political equivalent of watching someone bash a piñata, except instead of candy, it's Trump's dignity spilling out. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. So sure, Trump's angry Twitter rants might keep coming, but this isn't something he can fix with a few more tweets. This is just another chapter in the tragicomic saga that is the Trump presidency, a stark reminder that no matter how hard you try to control your image, eventually, the cracks will show. And when they do, it's pretty damn entertaining to watch.